What's going on, guys, and welcome to the commentary on the finals of the fourth season, I believe. Yeah, fourth season of the Total War League. A bit late, but we're getting to the start of the fifth season, and I figured, well, might as well go through it sooner rather than later before we get a lot of Season 5 games to go over. So, it's me versus Bobi in the finals. A quick reminder on the rules. You cannot repeat any of the previous factions that you use, so I used, like, Parthia, I used Boii, I used, like, Macedon, Numidia, Rome, and Arverni. And Bobi, I'm not sure exactly what he used, but I think he has most of his factions left because he used some lesser factions in the playoffs. And the other rule is that there's no artillery. There's no other rules for the army compositions, though, so there will be, sword spam, eastern spam, that kind of thing, if allowed. So yeah, Bobi defeated Asera in the final. I defeated Ragnar in the final. We agreed pretty much to, to choose the matchups ourselves rather than, allowing anything, because then you go, nomads and dumb counters and stuff. So, yeah, we agreed to decide on the matchups ourselves, and we went for a barbarian brawl in the first game, and we eventually agreed upon Boii versus Galatia, a match that I played against Ragnar in the semis, and I think Bobi said that he had played it with Lendon. Maybe not, though. Maybe that was a different matchup, I forget. But yeah, I mean, from my experience, at least with Ragnar, it's a very even matchup. Galatia maybe slight add, but nothing significant for sure, so it should be good. Let's get into it. And yeah, map 1 is on Nebular Senate, so we'll get the very, very standard stuff. So, let's get right into it. My army here is exactly the same one that Ragnar took. I really think it's the strongest way to go with Galatia, unless you want to go with Slingers, but the Syrians are such a nice advantage against other barbs, in case you have to snipe certain units. So, 4 levy freedom up front. They're very useful because you have very good cav, but you don't have much cav as Galatia. You have the general and the 2 Cappadocians, so you don't want to waste your guys YOLO charging into Celtics. And the levy freemen basically allow you to not have to do that because they're going to absorb any cavalry charges, throw a javelin volley, make it very costly for the enemy to YOLO, and they're not even YOLOing into your sword infantry. So 4 levy freedom up front just to protect my frontal lines and let my Cappadocians do the dirty work after javelins have been exchanged when they are at their best because they are so good in melee. Yeah, they're the most cost-effective melee cap for sure. Then my main line here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 Galatian Legionaries, so very strong. They're going to dominate even sword followers, but they're obviously going to get crushed by the sword, so there's the dynamic of that matchup there. Sword followers can do well if they get like a charge by a cav first on the Galatian Legionnaire, but other than that, Galatian Legionnaires are just so sick, especially in a lot of numbers like this where they can't really get outflanked very easily. They're going to do superbly well. And I also have 4 Galatian swords back here to round out the sword units, and they're just going to be reserved, plug any gaps, flank, do that kind of thing. Then also 3 Syrian archers, very good at sniping enemy targets, enemy cav, especially Oathsworn, very nice, so that's going to be very cool. Let's go over Bobi's army quickly. Here he has 5 levy freemen here, so actually more levy freemen than me, and that's very interesting. But again, they're very useful because they can help support his heavy horse against Cappadocians, which again, have a huge advantage there. And he also doesn't have to worry about YOLOs now because his levy freemen are in the way. He has 2 Celtic Slingers only, so that's not a very big deal. You can see them firing on my levy freemen, which will prod me to go forward quickly here, just so I don't lose levy freemen. Obviously, I'm not going to waste my Syrian ammo on his levy freemen. I just don't have enough ammo to justify that. Sorry, my mic is kind of moving there. Okay. So yeah, I'm just gonna have to run forward here and accept the engagement. And finally, let's go over his sword line. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sword followers, I believe. And also 2 Oathsworn and 2 Celtic. So he has the same number of infantry as me, but sword followers are worse than the Galatian Legionnaires. 2 Oathsworn, though, I can't really account for them with any one unit. It'll take a village there to defeat the Oathsworn. And the Celtic Warriors, a bit worse than the Galatian Sword, so I've got a nice upper hand in that regard. So, let's get into it then. Frontal charges coming through. He also has 3 heavy horse, by the way, so only 3 cav for Boii is a bit risky, I'd say, because those Cappadocians, again, are just so much better. But he does have an extra levy free, and I have an extra archer unit, and my archers are much better. So, there's the give and take. I'd say this army does give me a bit of an advantage, though. Syrians are going right after his general, just because I have better infantry main line. He has 2 Oathsworn, but only 2. I have better archers, better cav, So, and better, cheaper swords, so it's a big advantage. He just does have more elite infantry, 8 to 6, and his Oathsworn are pretty much way better. But you can see Oathsworn taking a few casualties, that's very nice. Charges coming in here. I'm using my Galatian swords to win these Levy Freeman fights, because I will want them to survive to help me flank if possible. It also forces his sword followers to charge him, because his Celtics are very far away, so it's his sword follower that charges in. Now I just run away and hit him with a Galatian Legionnaire. So, again, the Levy Freemen are making it so that there are no YOLOs, pretty much, but I'm getting the better of it by using these Galatian swords a bit more actively. Here, my general is going to get a very nice charge. You can see both these sword follower units use their javelins on the Galatian Legionnaire and not on the Noble Horse. If he got 2 javelins on the Noble Horse, it would be very bad. Instead, I get a massive charge into both these sword followers. Normally, 2 sword followers obviously will crush a Galatian Legionnaire just by virtue of numbers, but with the charge, at least they'll hold, the Galatian Legionnaire will hold for a long time, and the Galatian Legionnaires always are very good at holding, just like Roman units. They can just last forever. Here we see Syrian shooting up his cav, very important for me to get rid of his cav. Also got a very sick javelin volley on these heavy horse, 15 casualties from the Levy Free. They will now go down to his Levy Freeman, but that's a really nice damage that really can't be made back unless he gets another nice javelin volley on these Cappadocians. But these Cappadocians got kind of a nice recharge. You can see I have a lot of numbers on this flank piling up. He does have a lot of sword followers in reserve. I don't have actually that many Galatian Legionnaires in reserve here, only 2, and 3 here, I guess. But he's got 2 versus 1 here. He's got a Celtic engaging here. He has 1, 2, 3, 4 swords left, including his Oathsworn, and his Oathsworn general very far back because he was getting shot, but you should definitely move it back right out of range and get ready to send it into combat. So here, my Galatian Legionnaire had to come in here and save this Levy Freeman, because again, if Levy Freeman dies, then he'll just bait the charge with his Levy Freeman and then counter. So I decided to send my Galatian Legionnaire in, knowing that full well that he will get a counter charge with his sword followers. But at least I saved this Levy Freeman and can do something later. So let's go back into regular speed here. Don't want to waste time there. Nice javelin in the rear here from these Galatian swords. You can see Bobi's a bit passive here. I'm just going to take advantage. This sword follower is going to get caught here, and it's kind of facing the flank. So now these Galatian swords have a good charge option, and these Levy Free that I save are tossing javelins into the flank and really killing a lot of those sword followers. Nice charge from the Cappadocians, although it stopped these Galatian swords from getting a javelin, so maybe not such a good idea. But yeah, over here though, this Cappadocian, I shouldn't have missed this, tried to get a charge on these Celtics, but he counters with 2 of his heavy horse. His 3rd heavy horse is here, so this Cappadocian is actually going to go down very quickly, and they also rout this Galatian sword. You can see it's wavering, and it will rout. So I just have to bail with this Cappadocian, and he's going to get attacked in the rear, so it's going to lose a lot of men in this fight. But I can't stay here because he has so much cav and better support, so that's not good for me. Over here, though, his first Oathsworn is engaged, so he'll get a nice fight there. Up the middle, though, you can see I'm very much winning a lot of these fights, except for right here, where he has, again, 2 sword followers against 1 Galatian sword, so they're not going to do very well there. But here you can see the Galatian swords, 106 against 69. If they get a good engagement, they got a free charge, remember, and my Cappadocian also charged this sword follower. They can do well in those fights. You know, they are barbarian infantry, so they're very good on the charge. Here, this Cappadocian is 46 men, so it ended up getting out of there without losing too many men. This heavy horse is much lower at 35. These 2 pretty healthy. My Cappadocian here, very healthy, and my general hasn't taken any casualties, so that's nice. Here, this Levy Freeman does kind of get inside, push his slingers back, which is nice. My archers are moving to this flank to get some flank shots on enemy units. I felt like this flank was going better for me than this flank over here, so my archers should be safe in this location. Cappadocian here, flanking with the Galatian Legionnaire, so they're going to get around the flank here, and could do well in these fights. Again, his Oathsworn is engaged here, so he's going to be winning these fights easily, and he should probably take this in a second if he just reroutes some units to kill those Galatian sword. You can see the archers now getting nice shots into that heavy horse. It loses about 30 men there from the combined power of the Galatian Legionnaire and the archers. So that's very nice for me. It's going to go down to 20 men, no longer a real threat. This heavy horse, I was chasing it, hoping Bobi would miss micro, but he was very solid on his micro there, so he didn't lose the unit. And now my Cappadocian is just screening off his cav. I don't really need to chase or anything. Here, this Cappadocian gets a charge into his general, just to slow him down so I can get a rear charge here and hopefully break this sword follower and then just gang up on his gen. You see my archer, or these 2 Galatian Legionnaires are also free, and they're going to go after his general. But the Cappadocian kind of got stuck in his gen here, so you can see a lot of them are dying, and this heavy horse will easily finish the Cappadocian off with the help of all these units. This was a mistake, I'd say, on my part, because the Cappadocian is just so isolated, no support, and he has tons of support, and that's where he can really even the odds against the power of the Cappadocians. His general gets a sick charge into this Galatian Legionnaire, will kill it off easily, might even get a second charge here. But his victorious sword followers, again, those were the 2 sword followers that were fighting a Galatian sword 2 versus 1. They do win, but now they're just getting rear shot in the back when the Galatian Legionnaire will kill off both of these units. Cappadocian here, just again screening his cav, make sure they can't get to the archers. My general chases down this other heavy horse, and now it's basically just Kenneth's Oathsworn and his slingers do enough damage to these weak Galatian Legionnaires. I mean, they're definitely not healthy. 59, 70, and 85 here, and he has Oathsworn at 76, his Oathsworn Gen at 105. But the problem is the archers are still alive. This Galatian Legionnaire is 60 men. And these guys are just holding. These Galatians are just holding on for dear life, and if they can hold just a bit longer, you can see my archers are starting to get fire on this general, and you know, these Galatian Legionnaires are even doing some damage, so these rear shots are going to be absolutely devastating. No, he has no answer for my archers, really. You can see he has this one sword follower, but it's only at 14 men, so I'm just cycle charging with my gen. I kill off this other one, and I have another Galatian Legionnaire here. So 4 of my Galatian Legionnaires are still alive, 4 of the 6. He really only has his 2 Oathsworn, 1 Sword Follower, 1 Celtic. So numbers advantage heavily in my favor in the infantry department. He does have Oathsworn, but Oathsworn getting rear shot are not a threat, really, especially when it's 3 Syrians. Just banging them in the ass, pretty much. He's doing good damage, though. I mean, of course, the Oathsworn is still going to do very well in these fights against the Galatian Legionnaires, which are very tired and out of position, kind of. But I just have so many numbers. He finally finishes off my Galatian sword, so these units can come in, and they might, in a vacuum, win this infantry. I mean, they definitely would in a vacuum win this infantry fight, but it doesn't really matter because I have these cav, I have these archers, and they're going to clean up. So it's just a matter of time before they all go down, and this Cappadocian can easily go hunt down his slingers, not like they're very much a threat at all. My general, yeah, still 51 men here, 42 kills, didn't really do very much, but got the necessary enemy cav kills, basically. They just kind of stayed back, my gen. Got that initial charge into 2 sword followers, which really helped hold them, slow them down from killing everything. Now I'm going to get a nice recharge in here, though. Give my general some props for his good job in this battle. He'll come in with a nasty recharge here and just devastating against those tired and low HP units. But that's pretty much all she wrote. Again, you can see that my infantry is going to lose, but the archers and the cav clean it up. So very nice first battle. I think Bobi played pretty good. I think that I just got the better of that initial engagement because he was so passive with his Celtics that I used my Galatian swords to force his sword followers in first. And then so he was like, okay, these Galatian swords are just owning my levy free, I have to charge something in, so he charges his sword followers in, and then I pull out my Galatian swords and hit it with the Galatian Legionnaires, giving me a nice advantage against those sword followers. And the Galatian Legionnaires, they definitely don't need anything to kill off those sword followers, so getting a free charge as well is going to make them do very well. His Oathsworn, of course, very nice kills, 143, 166, pretty much all on Galatian Legionnaires and Galatian Swords. So those are valuable kills. You can see the Devil Chevron pretty much proves that, but there was just too little too late because his Cav didn't get anything done. His Sword Followers didn't do enough damage, and the Celtics as well. Like, if you look at the kills on my Galatian Legionnaires here, very, very nice kills overall. Only two doing badly, I'd say, whereas his sword followers, again, they got decent kills, but again, they were also fighting Galatian swords. My Galatian Legionnaires were pretty much only fighting his sword followers, and you can see 75, 50, 77, 86, so not terrible kills, but could be better. Also, look at the Galatian swords doing quite well. 121, 85, not too bad. His Celtics also doing well, so not bad from them as well. Getting into the fight. Levy Freeman for both sides, you know, whatever, and they're not going to do very well. In any case, but one got that nasty javelin volley on the heavy horse, and that's big. Any free jabs on the cav are just massive. My cav, you can see, really doing better than his by a lot. This one unit, though, you can see it got isolated and destroyed, and that's what you have to do against the Cappadocians. You need to use your heavy horse in conjunction with slingers and Levy Freeman, any type of support, really. Even Celtic warriors, obviously, will do fine, and just isolate them. And I let that happen, obviously, and that was bad, but that was the right play for Bobi to destroy it. That's how you destroy them. But the other two, I didn't make that kind of mistake. I kept them close to my archers, just defending them from any type of cavalry from him trying to rush in and kill them. And the archers, you can see, not a lot of kills, but remember, they're only shooting cav and Oathsworn, so those are very, very valuable kills. 130 kills, pretty much, on Oathsworn and on cav is very, very, very solid. So, and of course they had tons of ammo left. That was not even a problem. So 1-0 for me. Nice barbarian battle there. And we move on to the second game, which I have to go find. Here we go. And yeah, this was interesting. So the map is Pyramids, and we have Massilia versus Epirus. We couldn't decide on a matchup for the longest time. And I guess I'll tell this story when the game starts, because it's quite a long game, as we can see from my army. kind of full kite mode, which is maybe a bit gay, but it is what it is. So yeah, we couldn't decide on the matchup for the longest time. Bobi was suggesting a few things. I didn't really think they were even. And I guess the only problem was that he offered Arvasi versus Lutani, which is definitely pretty even. But I basically told him outright, like, yo, if you do that, I'm like definitely 100% gonna full kite as either side because I'm pretty sure that's the best way to win, especially as Arvasi. Like, you don't really want to fight Lusitani infantry up close. You'll definitely want to kite. So I said, like, yeah, I'm gonna full kite, so you might not want to do that. And he's like, yeah, that's true. So let's choose something different. We argued over, not argued, but we discussed a couple other options. And finally, he said, what about Massilia versus Epirus? And, it was like 10, it was like 5 minutes into discussing what army, so I was like, or what matchup to do. So I was like, okay, sure, like, that sounds fine. And I went into the army selection, and I was like thinking, like, okay, what am I going to take? And I was like thinking, well, Epirus doesn't really have many melee options, right? Like, Massilia can spam infantry. Epirus can't do that. They have max 3 Samnites, they have max 3 Italian swords, and you're not taking spears in these rules, so they pretty much have to go. I mean, they could obviously do like that plus pikes and royal peltis or something, but the more and more I thought about it, like, I was more and more sure that this army that I take is like absolutely the most winning army. But I don't think the problem was basically I don't think Bobi expected it because I told him in the other matchup, the the Arvasi versus Lusitani, that I definitely would kite, and so we shouldn't play it. I think he thought that since I didn't say that for this matchup, then I wouldn't be kiting, which is a fair assumption. And my only defense is pretty much that I didn't know I would be kiting until I thought about it for a long time. I didn't want to like go and change the matchup after when we were already like into the army picking because we were on stream obviously and didn't want to waste more time. Of course, this ends up being like a 30-minute battle, but that's kind of besides the point, I guess. So yeah, it was kind of my bad. I don't think he expected it, and yeah, so it was a little unfortunate. But in the end, he has a forest to camp in, and this kind of army is still very difficult to make work. To like full kite, and we'll go over the armies obviously in a second. So I'm not gonna lose like too much sleep over it. Like in the end, it was the right army to pick, I think. And in the final, like I'm not gonna not do that just because I want to make it fun, right? I want to win. So yeah, it was a bit unfortunate. Like obviously, I didn't want to put Bobi in a situation where he expected something and then I like subvert those expectations when I didn't really mean to do that. But that's what happened, kind of unfortunately, and I think that's all there is to say about that. But anyway, it's still a good battle, so it should be fun. So my army is 8 slingers, 3 of them are Rhodians. Rhodian here, I think it's here, and then on the flank here. So 3 Rhodian slingers, 5 regular slingers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Thessalians, 1 Hellenic Royal Cav, 2 Teratines, 1 Samnite, 1 Thurios, and 1 Italian sword. The Thurios, you might be like, why take a spear here? Well, they do have the javelin, so if you're going to be cutting, you have these javelins, they can kill a cav, and you can just use them as extra missile units against infantry, just to deplete them more for your cav to do damage. That's pretty much why. I could have taken another Italian sword, but the Thurios can do more damage, so despite being a worse melee unit here. The melee units are just to hold in very specific circumstances so that you can shoot cav if he rushes. But we didn't rush. He didn't have the army do it, so he went into the forest. And we're gonna add triple speed here because this takes a long time. I'm just walking up and surrounding. Don't want to run too much because of the desert, and he could rush forward at any point. So my goal here is obviously just surround. He only has 4 cav. He does have 2 Phase Lancers, 2 Massilian cav. He has, I think, 1 Celtic, 1 Axe Warrior, like 4 Thorax Swords, like 3 Massilian Hoplites, 3 Peltis, I believe. So you can see he was expecting Cav at least, so that's nice to have the Peltis. And I think a few Levy Freemen, like 3 or 4 Levy Freemen, something like that. But yeah, so obviously the goal here is not to shoot anything from the front, shoot them from the sides, and just deplete. You don't want to kill enemy units fully, you just want to deplete them. And if he makes any oversteps, just kill them. Kill them with your cav and your infantry, force him to come out of the forest, because the forest, actually, I didn't even know how bad it was. The forest is really, 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 really good at stopping missiles. So here comes Olivia Freeman, and he's just trying to throw javelins at anything. I'm okay with taking javelins on my slingers, because that means they're not going on my cav, and they'll do very little damage. but if the levy free extends too far, they can just get run down. So he uses a javelin volley here, and that means that you can't throw another javelin volley for quite a while. So now, my cav, I feel like I can just hunt this unit down. If it's a unit I hunt down now, I don't have to hunt it down later. And it will force units to come out of the forest to fight me. So you can see here, they don't have a javelin load, so they just charge, meaning the Thessalians take 0 casualties. I've got this infantry unit here just to tie them down. I actually didn't even need this infantry unit to be here. But now his general charges in here. You can see I have 4 slingers immediately in range, just toasting his general. It doesn't actually lose too many men, which is unfortunate, but a lot of HP damage, and that's going to come into play later. I think with this engagement for me, he saw maybe I was a little weak here. I mean, I don't think I really was. So he comes forward here to chase down some slingers, but now he's coming out of the forest, and that's not really what you want to do, because outside the forest, they're going to be very easy to kill. So I have a samurai here as well. So the thing is, if he wants to move his entire army out of the forest, then he can. But if he wants to just move small sections, then I have these infantry units which can tie down these infantry while my cav comes in and does the damage. So yeah, he was a bit unsure. It looks like if he wanted to come in here, my Tarentines are in behind, and they will get javelins on these Pestilence. You can see they killed about 2 more men there. Make about a third here. So yeah, doing damage to his cav is crucial because then the slingers can't get caught. If he has 4 cav, I can't really fully surround. I can't defend. For example, I couldn't defend a unit back here with him having 4 cav, because I can't put 4 cav back here because then he would just rush somewhere else. So right now I only have like a quasi surround going. If I can kill his cav, then I'll have a full surround going, and then he'll get shot in the back no matter what. Here you can kind of defend from getting shot in the back by making this U shape. And again, the forest, a big help in that regard. His pelters were coming forward here. I was going to see if I could, you know, again, I can't really stop him from using his ammo here. So I'm just going to push them back with my cav, because they're not going to aiming at the cav. But here the Celtic Warrior was way too close to me, and his cav as well. So he does bait my cav out here. But fortunately, I'm well into the charge animation, so it's going to get a charge on all of these units. Very devastating charge. And you can see my Tarentines are just in support here, preventing him from really flanking effectively. So I get into this unit, and you can see my, again, infantry unit running up forward to help support these fights. Nice javelin volley into the base lancers as well. Down to 50 men. Nice for me. 1 Thessalian taking some casualties, not a big deal. Again, trading 1 cav for 1 cav is fine for me because I have so much cav. The only problem here, though, is that I do leave my slingers a bit exposed. I should have been shifting cav from over here. And you can see my infantry is very crucial here because it's going to allow my cav to cycle out and then also kill off this Celtic Warrior. His cav, though, is missing cav. He's going to beeline it for my slingers. I'm pulling out my cav right now, and I should have been able to hold this a bit better. Like, I could just run my slingers kind of into this gap here and defend. But Bobi does a good job. Like, I shouldn't be chasing his cav. I should just be running my cav over here. And you can see I'm finally shifting another Thessalian over. But you can see Celtic Warrior is down, and Pace Lancer's half strength. This is really good. I'm only losing nothing, pretty much. Just a little bit of cav. 30 here and 50 here. So 40 cav losses. He is going to get into 1 slinger, though. Of course, it had to be a Rhodian, which is so unfortunate for me. Because the Rhodian's obviously much better than the regular slingers. And they lose a lot of men to the Miscellanean cav here. But he loses another cav, so now he has a half strength. Pace Lancer, which he charges into my Italian sword. I knew it wasn't going to get away, so I just take the charge and just shoot it. And that's obviously very nice because my slinger is now turn around and fire as well. Here he thinks he can go after me, but my macro's in time. I'm just going to run away. And again, my cav is close enough here to stop him. He could chase these slingers down, but his cav would be caught out, isolated, and just destroyed. And again, that would be your general losing. And I still have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 slingers, so killing them, and you may not even kill them fully, would not be worth it. So now he lost a Celtic Warrior, lost 2 cav, the Miscellanean cav and the Pace Lancer here. I lose an Italian sword, I lose some cav, I lose some slingers. You can see this Rhodian lost 50 men, so that's pretty unfortunate. They had full ammo, obviously I haven't even used my ammo yet. I'm using this moment as well to shoot on this flank. You can see now he only has 2 cav, right? So he can't even chase these units, right? I would run away, send this cav over here to block, and I have a Thessalian here, so his engagements would be really, really bad. These Tarentines are just patrolling the rear lines. I can always go after his cav if he runs out too far. And now I'm just resetting here, so let's triple, just fully resetting, you know, moving my units around to make sure I have the right defenses set up, and he just goes back into the forest. So I think his excursions out here were a mistake. Just, it's too easy to isolate those units when you're fully surrounding the enemy. You have to either go with your whole army, in which case you're just getting shot in the side, or move with small groups that just get isolated and destroyed, and that's what happened here. So now I just have to go for flank shots. I'm just going to want to shoot up his thorax swords first. I will not shoot the Miscellanean hoplites at all, because they have a lot of armor. And crucially, they don't have javelins, so there's no huge benefit to me killing those guys, rather than killing a axe warrior or a thorax sword, which have javelins. So you can see I'm shooting on the right side here. Nice shots, and again, look how fast they die outside of the forest, like so fast. Bobi's doing a nice job of kind of moving around the unit so that it doesn't get shot, so more guys miss, basically. And you can see here I'm shooting his general. I want to shoot his cab down fully. At this point, like, that's another thing. If I can kill again, if I can kill his cab, then I can fully surround. And also, if his general dies, like, the morale is going to be so shit on his units. So, that's going to be important. And you can see I'm just not, you know, firing all the time. Fire at will is obviously off. Just trying to get the best shots into his axe warriors. Another thing is you don't have to fully kill these units. You can just get them down to about, you know, 20, 30 men, because then they'll just die in one charge pretty much, and they won't have enough javelins to really cause any damage. Here I went for like a bait and switch move with these Thermospheres. The idea is move them in range first of the Peltis, so they throw the javelins, and then hit them with the Thessalian Cav, which is not going to have any javelins targeted on it. Would be risky though with all these Thorax Swords and Levy Freeman here. It's probably a bad idea. And I just pulled back. So now, yeah, you can see I'm also shooting his Thorax Swords on this link, but you'll see that these shots are just so much less effective because of these shrubs. I guess it makes sense though, right? Like, they're shooting the way forests work in Rome 2 is that literally it's actually the models of like bushes and stuff that absorb the missiles. So like, for example, if these guys shot onto the flank of this Thorax Sword, they'd actually do fine because there's no shrubs. I mean, there's this shrub here, but there are not as many shrubs to actually block sling shots. But for example, here his line was like right behind this bush, so the slingers have that trajectory that comes very flat, so way more would get absorbed by the tree, and you can kind of see that from these slingers when they fire next. Let's see if we can get a visual on that. It obviously is the way that it works, regardless, but it makes fighting against these boxes in the forest very, very tricky. Let's see. Come on, guys. Let's throw our stones. So let's see if we can see a lot of stones coming in and not a lot of stones coming out. Yeah, you can see two stones there getting blocked. A lot of stones getting blocked by these trees. So maybe only like 50% of my missiles are actually hitting. And against these Thorax Swords, it's just not going to do damage that quickly. Here you can see it's probably a little bit better because they're not really protected by the trees. If you move like right here, it would be better because this tree would just literally protect him, and this tree as well. So these shots are pretty good, but they're into the left side, so they're not great. Again, I should be getting those right side shots, but the right side shots are actually going into the cav, which are much more valuable targets. You see his general's down to 49. And at this point, I pretty much created a new plan. I was like, yo, I'm actually running out of ammo on a few. Like, this unit's almost out of ammo. I think one of these two units is almost out of ammo. So I'm like, okay, I'm actually running out of ammo. That's not good. Like, I should not be running out of ammo here. I don't have nearly enough kills to make this work. So my new plan is, like, actually, what I'm going to do is just shoot his general. And as soon as his general dies, when he has that morale penalty, I'm just going to charge in. And I can rout a lot of these undisciplined units, like the Levy Freeman, Peltis, and weakened units like these Thorax Swords that are down to 65 men. So here he makes him, again, he's getting surrounded. He's not even anywhere to run. So now he's actually running into my Tarentines. And that's doing even more damage. So right about now I see, oh, his general's actually down to 40 men. Let's see if I can get any more kills. Maybe not. But you can see where the red lines are for my missiles. He has actually nowhere to hide at this point. Maybe like right here, but I can always just move up a little bit. This unit is out of ammo, by the way, so it's just going to bait out javelins. And you can see it does exactly that. So this unit's out of javelins now, I'm pretty sure. Or it has one more javelin volley. But these slingers have literally no purpose other than to do that. I use that distraction to run into these Peltis. Again, it's going to take a few javelins from these Thorax Swords, but I only lose 3 men or something. Killing off about half that Peltis unit. Maybe not totally worth it, but decent returns. Because I do need to start getting these units weak, and I go for a second charge here because I can. This time I don't take any javelins, so that was much better. Take a few from these Axe Warriors, a few from the Peltis, but 6 casualties to kill off a Peltis unit, pretty much worth it. Again, and you can see the noose is tying on his general down to 37 men. And he's running out of space. That was kind of a waste of javelin volley, but my goal is now literally just kill the general, and as soon as he dies, mass charge the levy tree, make them rout, and all of a sudden it'll have only like 6 or 7 units remaining. The Peltis will probably go down. This axe warrior comes in, but it's no match for the Thessalians here. Actually, it doesn't rout, which is so fucked up. Like, it's down to 17 men, 14 men. and doesn't route even though it just got charged by Kev. So I just cycle out and kill it, but that's pretty stupid. Roam 2 morale can be stupid sometimes. So yeah, now his general has nowhere to go. I'm moving in much closer here. He's running around. You can see how much more of my missiles miss at this point, like because he's making these weird movements, like kind of random movements. But it's not going to matter. I just have so many slingers, I can always shoot him. These Rhodians getting in range as well. And yeah, just doing the damage. So now, my maneuvering here is crucial. I see his general hasn't died yet, but I know he's going to go down soon, because the unit just doesn't have that many men. 17, 15, right, it's going down 13. So now, look where my Thessalians move. They move very, very close, so they can immediately charge in as soon as the general dies, to maximize that morale penalty, and then these levy free will route, and you'll get the units, friendlies routing penalty, and all that. So I'm ready to pounce, mainly on these levy free, because I want them dead, and I'll finish everything else off after. I have tons of ammo and a few units here as well, and so there goes the general. He is dead. So right now, general recently died. You can see the morale immediately goes down. Even these guys are in the yellow. So yeah, the morale is definitely bad. And here comes the mass charges into his thorax swords, into his levy freeman. My general's staying out for a little bit to try to bait out as many javelins as possible before he goes in. And these levy freemen just don't stand a chance. Peltus again, instantly routing. Levy freeman, instantly routing. And this is basically, look, and again, these Peltus getting charged, these thorax swords getting charged. My Sandknights can engage here and do very well in these fights. Using these slingers just to tie down enemy units. Nice charge from the general here to kill off this cav unit. Again, that's his last cav unit. And now, once he's actually fighting, now the slingers can start targeting units and get very nice rear shots. For example, these Throw Spirits charge in here, tie down this Missilian Hoplite, and you can just bang it with slingers here. I'm actually shooting this other Missilian Hoplite, maybe a better target. But you can see, all of a sudden, his army is just gone. He has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 units left. He had maybe 13, 14, 15 a second ago. So now it's just ping-pong off everything. Sandknights, again, they're a full unit, so they're going to do very well against Missilian Hoplites with slinger support. My general here is still very healthy. Tarantines even can charge in and do damage. My Thessalians kind of got beat up from those job volleys. You can see some of them are still pretty healthy though. And my slingers, again, a lot of these units still have about half ammo or more. Only like 3 or 4 were low, but that's fine. And now they can just finish off these units with rear charges, and his army just kind of mass routes, so that's very positive for me, basically. Using the fact that I knew his general is going to have to die to mass route and make this job a lot easier for me. And that's what you have to do when you're kiting. You have to be opportunistic, take advantage of every situation that comes your way, and be smart, basically. Just be tactical, be smart, understand how your enemy is going to react to every move you make, and what you can do that they can't stop. And in this case, it was killing his general. Because I saw, look, my slingers aren't doing much damage to his swords. I could probably use all my ammo and reduce his swords drastically in number, all of them, but he'd still have the Missilian Hoplites, he'd still have his cav, he'd still have the Peltus, the levy free. I was like, dude, those levy freemen are full, they have tons of javelins, there's no way I can let them survive. Like, that's just not the right way to go about it. They'll own my, and you know, they did get javelins on my Thessalians, even though they were going to rout as soon as they got hit. So they did do a lot of damage. You can see I don't have that much cav left. And if he had way more units left, more cav, more peltus, it could have been very close. But instead, the levy freemen are instantly gone, and everything else kind of just crumbled after that. So yeah, not much to look at here. Slingers got good kills, cav got good kills, everything got good kills for me because nothing really got touched. Maybe this Italian sword could have done better, but it was bait to shoot up his general and the other Fast Lancer. For him, for Bobi, not much went his way. I mean, that's what happens when you have slingers against infantry. But yeah, not much more to say about this game. Basically, I just had an army that he didn't really expect for, you know, the reasons that I outlined at the start. But this army is very, very strong. I think even in 4-6-12 rules, Epirus, a couple other factions should be taking this in a lot of matchups, like a lot of matchups. Obviously, you have to be slightly different with your army comp because you can't take 5 slingers and you can't take 5 Thessalians, but very similar ideas exist. Kiting, very powerful, especially on Nebadosana where there's no trees. I do fully believe that it's the best tactic in a lot of situations. So, you know, I think it should be thought about more. It's not really fun necessarily to play against, but I think it's actually, you know, you have to chase or you have to box. Boxing, I don't think will work on the Medicena, so you have to chase, but there's very tactical things about that too. For example, you can also bring slingers, like 4 or 5 slingers of your own, and then how do these slingers react to that? They can't waste all their ammo on your slingers, but you can't, you know, you have 5 slingers, so you have less infantry, less cav, and maybe the kiting player has more shock cav. So yeah, there's a lot of dynamics to it. I don't think it's actually that boring. Obviously, this battle was pretty boring because he boxed, but it was the right decision with the trees. But in general, I think, yeah, very strong army, very strong idea, and should be used more, basically. So, 2-0 for me. It's a best of 5, so I have the chance to clinch in this game. So, we agreed to go for a very interesting matchup. Odrysian versus Odrysian. We have exactly the same armies that we predetermined. Basically, it's get as many nobles as you can with 20 units. So, it's like 4 nobles and a bunch of Thracian warriors and Falksmen. It's on Dimity, so heat, desert map, fatigue will be a factor. And maybe on paper, it looks like an all-infantry matchup wouldn't be that interesting. But I actually thought this battle was very, very tactical. And nuanced, and there's obviously a lot of micro. Well, it's not that nuanced, definitely not as much as like a full normal battle, but it had things going for it. So let's first of all go. I mean, we saw the army, right? It's 3 Falksmen, 4 nobles, and 13 Thracian warriors for both sides. Exactly the same armies. But we've deployed in very different manners. I've got 3 lines here with reserves, and Bobi has 1 line with reserves. His Thracian nobles all in the back, with his Falksmen in reserve, and the 13 Thracian warriors up front. I have my Thracian warriors up front, a middle line of some nobles and some Falksmen, and then a rear line, I think, of a number or a couple of nobles and another couple of Thracian warriors. So, what's the differences here? I've got a very compact formation, which means, obviously, Bobi's going to have a chance to outflank. But I knew that, and so you can see immediately I'm walking towards one side. Note the walking. It's not slow motion here. I'm just walking because of the heat. And if he runs, he's just going to get tired faster. So my goal is immediately, I know Bobi's line is long, but I can run to one side and have a very, very fast numerical superiority because my army is very compact. Whereas Bobi's flank will take forever to wrap around, and I can just keep kind of running away. And they're going to get very tired much faster than my guys because they've run around this entire flank. And then I can just engage when I'm fresher than he is and he's like very tired or something. So I'm trying to keep my stamina up. You can see Bobi's running a bit more already, although he is going to rest here. So I start to run a little bit. Or no, I'm actually still walking. But again, I do need to eventually run a little bit so you can't just like keep reforming by like turning to the side. I want to overwhelm this side because guess what's on the flank? The general. And if I can snipe the gen, no one has morale in this battle because everything is cheap and shitty except for the Thracian nobles, but there's no discipline. So killing the general plus tired units here on the flank will be very big. So now I'm starting to run. You can see these guys, look at the distance to my units here. And I'm not even planning on fighting here. I'm planning on fighting over here, so I can just keep refusing this line as much as I want pretty much until I won over here and then I start wrapping his flank. Hopefully by killing his general, get the morale advantage. So here comes the initial charges. So you can see I immediately pull back. I'm baiting charges out, even in infantry versus infantry. Getting those flank charges. You can see this guy doesn't get a charge because of my baiting. Actually, kind of does. But I'm charging with my Falksmen. And my Falksmen were my second line for a good reason. I believe Bobi had the same idea. They have higher charge bonuses. 48 charge to 36. So if they get the bait and switch charges, they're going to do super well. And you can see, so I'm already engaging here. I pull back this Falksman. Again, you don't want to leave them in combat. They're actually way worse than the Thracian warriors in prolonged combat. So I'm pulling out here and getting second charges. Bobi, nice micro there. He's also getting charges. I'm just going to keep it in slow motion here because there's a lot of stuff going on at one time. But can Bobi keep it with the micro over here? No, it doesn't seem like it. So, oh, yeah, just in time he did. Wait, does he? Yeah, but not really. It's not a charge. No, it's not a charge. So again, massacring these guys. They didn't get a charge. I did. These Thracian warriors are going to do superbly. Here you can see 2 versus 1. No way I'm taking this fight. I'm already getting charged with my nobles into the flank of these Thracians. I have way more numbers coming over here. And again, look at this flank. Being refused. I've got all my numbers just kind of back here. I'm committing my Thracian nobles. I don't know if that was really good. Did they even get a charge? Yeah, they did. But he's going to get a counter charge with his Thracian nobles, so that's very good. But my Thracian noble gets a charge here. I've got 2 versus 2 now, instead of 2 versus 1, so now I can commit these Thracian warriors. And you can see he's active, I'm active, so okay, decently even on this flank. Over here, he's already winded on that outside unit. My guys are fresh, so this is good. I'm resting, he's running, so fatigue advantage is in my favor. Here I pull back my Thracian noble because I don't want it to be fighting a counter charge from his Thracian noble. I'll knowingly sacrifice this Thracian warrior. But here comes another Thracian warrior just to keep my noble safe and sound. And two of my nobles committed here. You can see he only had, yeah, one noble in the area and his general, which he didn't want to commit. So I have way more of my elite units committing here. And basically, the good thing about Thracian nobles, they're just going to commit and instantly kill whatever they fight. So there's not a lot of time being wasted. If it was like a Greek battle and there were hoplites, he could hold this flank with the hoplites while these guys come in and overwhelm this flank. But with Thracians and Folksmen and Thracian nobles, that's just not going to happen. You can see I'm just overwhelming these guys. They're getting surrounded. Now he has to pull back his noble. Nice bait and switch here, though, from Bobi. Getting into these units. See, doing decent damage to my Thracian nobles, so that's not bad. All of his nobles are very healthy. But over here, you can see he's losing formation, tired, winded units everywhere. I'm still fresh. Maybe this guy's active, just became active. I'm just refusing this line still. But he does have numbers here for now. He has numbers in this instance. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 units here to 2, 4, 6, 7, 8 maybe. So he has numbers in this area, but 4 units are free here, 4 units are free here, and I'm going after these 2 nobles. If I can surround them, just by charging in my 2 nobles and then surrounding with the rest, then 2 nobles go down easily. My nobles are engaged in good fights here. You can see a charging here against 2 Thracian warriors. They will take a lot of casualties just because of the powerful charge of the Thracian warriors, but 2 versus 1 without getting flanked is a decent engagement for the nobles. Meanwhile, his nobles are just running away. They can't engage because it's his general here, but that just means that I'm going to get flanked on his nobles here. Meanwhile, these guys are still trying to get to me. Winded, active, tired again. I'm still active, fresh. Finally, his general commits. I get a very nice clean charge here. He does have another noble here, but again, all 3 of my nobles are here, and my 4th noble is here. And again, here comes the Falks, here comes the Thracian. 2 more Thracian and Falks here. Gonna just surround here. Another noble, my general in fact, coming out here to support these fights if necessary. This other noble is here. And you can see these guys are killing off one of my units, which I just used to bait and you know, save a little bit of time. Because I want to finish off these fights and then just re-face these guys. But they're winded, my guys are fresh, so I'm like, alright, good time to take this fight. Look at this nice flank charge over here. Finally, he had to commit his general, or just pausing here. If he doesn't commit his general here and he just keeps running away, entire flank just collapses. Well, like, one of my units just stops these guys from getting back into the fight. So he had to commit here, but I had way more units. You can see my noble charges in, then I flank with 2 other units. His noble is going to go down here. Use headhunt battle rhythm. It's not enough. Over here, these guys are tired, very tired even, against active or fresh units here. Mostly active, it seems. They're just not going to have a say in this. They're too tired. They get good charges. You can see he does have numerical superiority on this side. I have it on this side, he has it on this side. But I have numerical superiority with equal stamina, and he has numerical superiority with inferior stamina. Just not going to work here. My guys are going to crush. His general got surrounded again. That was one of my goals. Snipe the gen. General goes down. General recently died. They're tired. No way they're going to hold here. His noble's getting a nice charge, but it's just too little too late. My plan pretty much worked to perfection. Hunted down his nobles. Used my compact formation to just own this flank while these guys held. And now, yeah, just finishing him off with these superior stamina units here. And I just have more men remaining as well. So that was the difference in exactly the same armies, but 2 different theories on how to deploy and how to play the battle. And especially with the hot map, my theory was pretty much better in the end. Especially with his general getting on the side that was attacked first by my guys. Just much better. You can see these engagements happen maybe 3 minutes after these initial engagements happened, where I had like double the number of units in proximity. So finally, his last noble in headhunt is going to go down, and that's the series. So 3-0, but a pretty close series, I would say. Like, first game was very good. Second game, despite, like, obviously if I win, I'm not going to take many casualties, but despite that, it was quite close. Like, it came down to me having a good read on killing his general. But if I didn't do that, Bobi would have definitely have chances there. Especially if he didn't waste a few units at the start of that second game. He should have just came from the forest entirely. And this game came down to just a clash of ideas and styles, and just worked out. But a good series overall. I'd say Bobi played fine. And again, the second game, just I had a read on him with the kite, and in this game I had a better tactic, I would say. but micro-wise and mostly from his play, he played totally fine. A very deserving second place for him in the tournament. Defeating a Sarah in the semifinals is pretty impressive for sure. Um, but in the end, I won, and so, good for me or whatever. Was a really great tournament. Honestly, one of the best tournaments I've played. I was very, very unsure how I was going to feel about going into a no rules thing, but what really made it good in the end was that most players didn't want to cheese. Like, most players were like, yo, let's agree on matchups. Let's find something we're both comfortable with, and we'll play that. Instead of, like, going to nomads every game, which was very, very possible. It's been fixed for Season 5, thankfully, because nomads are banned. But, yeah, I think everyone was trying hard to win. Like, the playoffs was, like, very, very intense games. Like, holy shit. Like, the games on stream were very, very, very fun to play. And let's see, who were the players that we had? We had Moore, Ragnar, Lendon, Bobi, Soph, Acer were the players that coming from like the normal Road to Con and Clan Community tournaments. So 6 or 7 players that are, you know, good good friends that I'm good friends with. I play a lot in other tournaments, and they're all there in the playoff bracket, all trying very very hard to win. We were practicing a lot, coming up with theory. Shout out to Moore there because we did play a lot and thought about this a lot. And I thought it would be really kind of boring to play no rules, but it really wasn't. And it took me back to like the ancient Rome 2 times, like the beginning of the game when there were pretty much no rules and it was sword spam. And honestly, sword spam, call it what you want, OP or whatever, but when both sides can do it, it's very tactical. And I think that Galatia Bowie game that me and Bowie played in the first game of this series proved that. It's all about getting your charges, it's all about preserving your cav and using your slingers or archers properly. It's both sides have the swords, so it's not a huge thing. It's not like you're playing Greeks versus barbarians where the Greeks have no chance in no rules because of the sword spam. It's very, very possible for both sides to win most of those sword fights. Sword spam fights, I mean. And it was really micro intensive, really tactical. Would I favorite over 4612? Probably still not, but I'm kind of a purist, I guess, in that regard. Um, and it was so much fun to play, so I'm really, really happy how it turned out, and I think everyone really enjoyed the games on stream, so that's cool. I'm glad to be bringing, good games to people, and hopefully, everyone keeps trying to improve and play more of the tournaments, because, let's keep it rolling. Rome 2 is a great game. I think everyone that played, obviously, thinks that in general. So, yeah, it was a great tournament overall. Really, really fun games. I think all the games that I posted on my channel were just so good. Like these games, the games against Ragnar and the games against Moore were absolutely insane. And that's not to mention the other players' games that I definitely watched on the stream. Like Acer versus Safado was a crazy game. London versus Ragnar was funny, as you'd expect. So many good games, and hopefully Season 5 will keep delivering with more of that. So, finally, thanks for watching, guys. Kind of a long video. Kind of a couple of really long game in there, but hopefully the analysis was solid. I think I pretty much got to everything that I wanted to talk about, and yeah, hopefully there'll be more stuff coming up with Season 5. Should be another banger. Even better, honestly, I think, because people are, still into it, so should be a lot of fun. Hope to have more stuff coming soon, and yeah, thanks for watching as usual. Peace out, and see you in the next one. Yep, later.